Welcome back to the Wall Street Podcast. Today, we're digging into a really interesting Morgan Stanley research report. It's called Global Technology. NAND AI Era Finally Comes to NAND. And it just dropped on September 10th, 2025. Our goal here is pretty straightforward. Show you how AI isn't just tweaking the NAND flash memory market, it's fundamentally rewriting the rules. We're talking a huge market expansion and a flip from, well, years of oversupply to a potential shortage by late 2026. It's quite the turnaround.
It really is a major shift. And what's fascinating is how AI inference is the main driver.
Yeah.
Especially with these large language models everyone's using now. They create this massive new need for storage, but not just any storage. It needs to be high speed, high capacity, and critically, it needs to handle randomized I/O access really well.
Randomized I/O access. Okay, so for listeners, that's different from just reading data sequentially, correct?
Exactly. Think of sequential like reading a book page by page. AI inference, though, it needs to jump around constantly, like finding a specific word on any page instantly. That's where QLC eSSDs come in.
QLC Enterprise Solid State Drives.
Right. Quad-level cell. They're just much better suited for those rapid, sort of nonlinear data requests. The report thinks this AI slice of the NAND market could hit, believe it or not, 34% of the total global market by 2029. That's an extra US $29 billion added to the TAM. It's huge.
Wow, 34%. That's transformative. So the industry's been swimming in oversupply since about 2022. What does this demand surge mean for the NAND cycle itself?
Well, it looks like a genuine inflection point. We're moving towards rebalancing and then likely a shortage. The base forecast points to maybe a 2% NAND shortage in 2026.
Okay.
But if nearline SSD adoption really takes off, and we can talk about that, it could even be an 8% shortage. That's the bull case. And importantly, the expectation is for a much shallower down cycle this time. That AI demand created a pretty solid floor.
Right. You mentioned nearline SSDs and LSSDs. They sound like a key part of this. What's the story there?
Yeah, they're emerging as a potential game changer. Basically, a cheaper, high-density alternative to nearline hard disk drives using QLC flash. They're trying to hit a price point that's, less than 3 times the cost of those nearline HDDs.
And why is that specific combination cheaper than enterprise SSDs but faster than HDDs so good for AI?
It hits a sweet spot for certain AI workloads.
Yeah.
You get much better speed than HDDs, lower power draw, better durability, and crucially much lower latency. For AI, latency is key. Milliseconds matter. So getting those benefits below that 3x cost target makes scaling AI infrastructure much more feasible.
Okay, that makes sense. And beyond the supply-demand shifts, there's innovation happening too. SanDisk's high-bandwidth flash HBF.
HBF is very interesting. It's designed to work alongside HBM high-bandwidth memory, that super fast memory, right next to the GPU. HBF gives the GPU direct high-bandwidth access to much larger pools of NAND flash storage, primarily for AI inference tasks. SanDisk is working with SK Hynix on this. We should see devices with HBF capability probably in early 2027. It's like adding a new, fast tier to the memory hierarchy.
So let's pivot to the market dynamics. We have this projected shift to a shortage by the second half of 26. How are the big cloud players, the CSPs, reacting? And what's happening with prices right now?
The CSPs are definitely paying attention. They're already in pretty active talks about large orders, specifically for AI NAND and potentially these NL SSDs. We're seeing procurement accelerate significantly now in the second half of 2025. That aggressive buying, plus suppliers being quite disciplined on adding new capacity, means prices are likely going up. We expect blended NAND pricing to rise, say, 3 to 8% in Q3 25, and then hold steady or maybe even tick up slightly in Q4, which, reverses earlier expectations of a price decline.
Interesting. So for investors listening, the report obviously points to opportunities. Which companies or segments look best positioned?
Morgan Stanley specifically calls out SanDisk. They actually upgraded it to their top pick, raised the target to $96. KIOXIA and Samsung Electronics are also seen as major beneficiaries among the NAND makers themselves. Then you have module makers like Phison and Longsys getting a mention. And on the hardware side, companies like WDC and SDX are favored too. The thinking is that this AI demand surge kind of lifts all storage boats, both SSDs and to some extent HDDs as well.
Right, the rising tide effect. So looking ahead, with AI evolving so fast, how do all these storage types, HDDs, eSSDs, and this new HBF fit together? Is one going to replace the others?
No, it doesn't look like a zero-sum game.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about creating a layered, more sophisticated storage hierarchy. HDDs will stick around for bulk storage, where cost per gigabyte is paramount and performance isn't as critical. eSSDs are increasingly the go-to for performance-sensitive stuff like AI training and a lot of inference. And HBF slots in as this ultra-fast NAND tier, directly helping the GPU for specific types of inference workloads. It's about optimizing the whole data flow for AI, not just one part.
So tying this all together for our listeners, what does this mean in practical terms? How does this affect the AI you interact with?
Well, fundamentally, this rapid deployment of AI-optimized storage, these
Hmm.
faster eSSDs, maybe HBF down the line, supported by better controllers. It's what makes the generative AI tools you use feel responsive and smart. Your chatbots, the personalized feeds you see, intelligent assistants, they all rely on this underlying infrastructure, being able to handle massive data fast. So you should experience progressively faster and more capable AI interactions, whether that's on your phone, via the cloud, or even in new age AI applications. The foundation is scaling up quickly.
Okay, a lot to digest there. Let's leave our listeners with a final thought to chew on.
Definitely. Consider this. AI's hunger for data seems almost limitless, constantly pushing storage towards higher capacity and speed. So how might this relentless innovation cycle in NAND, from these advanced eSSDs to things like HBF, how might that fundamentally reshape the economics and the competitive playing field for the cloud providers and the AI developers themselves over, say, the next decade? It's a big question,